Hello everybody, how's everybody doing? It's Infernal here and I'm going to be making a video, let's just say an update to my very first video, which was an intro and basics to the server Ventureland. The previous video was outdated and the microphone wasn't the greatest, so I felt like maybe I could update it for you guys, and it's going to be the same material, it's just going to be a little more organized, I'd say. Even though I haven't thought of anything, I hadn't made any plans for this. I literally just threw it together because it needed to be done. So nothing's like scripted. This is all just me remembering everything off the top of my head. And another thing about the 30 subscribers. We hit the 30 subscribers literally before I even posted the video that had the end message saying that I was going to do something for my 30 subscribers. So basically what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be doing a very small giveaway, very little. I'm going to be giving away a $5 gem pack to whoever the winner is. I will be streaming that on Twitch instead of doing whatever it is that I would normally be doing. So it's not, it'll be clipped and posted here on YouTube after I do the whole giveaway thing. But I just want to let you guys know, give you some insiders. I have that video scheduled for next week and not this week because my weekend is going to be a little hectic. So let's hop right into this video because it needs to be stated. Okay, so when you first load into Ventureland, it'll take you into tutorial. I do not have any clips of the tutorial, I'm sorry. There's a tutorial, you run through it, it teaches you, it lets you choose a weapon and lets you choose between tank and power armor. It doesn't let you know about hybrid, but I'll teach you about that later. So tank armor is an armor that, if I can get to the shop quick enough, gives you more, it gives you the same amount of defense, as you can see right here. Tank. It gives you, so it's not showing me any stats right here, but screw it. I'll just do it like this. Okay, so tank. As you can see, it's negative 3% damage, but plus 4% armor with a base of 10. Tank armor basically just gives you more defense and reduces your damage. It's not really practical in the beginning of the game because you don't really need it. In fact, at the beginning of the game, I would prefer that you use power or hybrid. Don't use tank because tank is just bad unless you get warlord tank, which I'll go over in a second. Next, you have power armor, which does the opposite. So you get 10 armor, same as the first one, plus 4% damage, but minus 2 armor. So actually getting less armor and more damage. I prefer this because at this stage of the game, you're not really killing things that are going to do a ton of damage to you, so you'd rather do more damage rather than having this sort of ability. Now, why I prefer hybrid is it's 12, but it's plus 1 and plus 1. So it already has a base armor stat that is higher, and it also gives you plus damage and plus defense, making it the best set out of anything to craft, like, at all. And I'm going to sell all this because I need to make some gold out of it. And so, okay, now we're done with armors. Let's describe the weapons. So there are 8 different types of weapons. Each one serves a different purpose. So sword, mace, axe, scythe, dagger, whip, wand, and bow. Sword is a DPS weapon. It has, its abilities consist of deep wound, charge, combo attack, and fury. Swords crit, and they have a crit chance, as you can see, crit chance 31%. So you have a 31% chance to do like double damage, I think. It's actually a little more than double damage. And then your abilities consist of Deep Wound, which at level 1, which is what you'll start off with, makes your swing do 14 more damage on that swing. So if you were going to do 40 hit when you hit the mob, it would instead do 54. It's okay. You can see why it's a DPS weapon. Then Charge just launches you in a straight line. You cannot move left or right, can't move up or down, it just sends you in a straight line. And Combo Attack at level 1 throws 3 quick slashes in front of you. And this is great for DPS because you can just even in the beginning of the game, that's 3 hits that are going to do your base damage. There's no reduced damage on combo. So you can still crit and hit like those 40, 50, for the T1 stuff, you can hit that 30, 40 damage crits just blowing through those early game mobs. And then you have Fury, which at level 1 temporarily increases, it actually adds a bonus damage of 4, and it increases your crit chance by 12%. And this is good for sustained DPS, so you want to keep a very consistent DPS and a very tight DPS. As you can see, it gets better later on. It goes to 8 seconds, 16% with 6 bonus damage. Alright, let's move on to the next weapon. Next is Mace. Mace is not a DPS weapon. In fact, Mace is an aggro weapon. It has a bash chance, which if you land a bash, it will cause the mob or player to look straight up. This is why it's also a PvP weapon. It causes them to look straight up or down, and it makes it to where they can't move and they can't attack you back. So definitely good for PvP, and it's good for some aggro situations. So the first ability you're going to get is Smash. This is what you start off with, Smash 1. The bash duration is 0.2 seconds, so it's not even a full second. So it'll basically just look down and then back up. It's not bad, especially for PvP. Just smash spam, just try to keep them from hitting you. For aggroing, this just saves you from taking a hit. So every time you bash, you can't get hit while the mobs or boss is bashed. So pretty helpful. And then you have Pounce, which is a ability that literally just launches you forward. It literally just shoots you forward. It's just a leap forward. And it hits targets when you land. That's about it. Nothing really special. Then you have Mace Throw, which throws your mace and has a 0.8 second. So if you land a Mace Throw, it's 0.8 seconds instead of 0.2. So Mace Throw is usually better to go for, in my opinion. And then you have Uppercut, which when you hit a mob, sends them straight up, and then they come back down. This is your aggroing ability. As you can see, draws aggro on mobs. So when you're agging a boss, and such as Vulcan, and someone says, I need you to switch aggro, the boss is doing too much damage to me, I need you to take it off of me, what you would do is you'd use Uppercut, which launches the mob in the air, and then they hit the ground, and then they are suddenly agged to you. So they'll be attacking only you, and then your teammate will draw the aggro back. So, great PvP weapon, and it's also a very great agging weapon. Then you have Axe. Believe it or not, Axe is also a DPS weapon, but it's also a very heavy hitting weapon. It just has a little bit of it just has a little bit of a skill gap to it, because as you can see, spam clicking causes this weird bar that pops up on your screen to go down. This bar determines how much damage you do. So over here against test dummies, a full hit, I just happen to do 102 because my damage range is 1 to 52. But as you can see, if I just spam click, my axe does between 0 and 9 damage. So basically, when you're using an axe, you want to click very slowly. So you just want to click, 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 click. So it is a DPS weapon because it can hit hard. And then, not to mention, its abilities make it not that horrible of a DPS weapon. So if you look at it, your first one is Sever, which does 15% of the hit you do in bleed damage. So if I hit 100 damage, that's 15 damage. That ticks every second. The bleed lasts for 4 seconds, but the greatest thing about Sever is this is also a great tanking weapon, because when you use Sever, the boss or mob does 10% reduced damage to you for 10 seconds, and this is at level 1. This increases all the way to 4, which makes damage reduction 20%. Then you have parry. Throwing up a parry, if anything hits you, it'll block it and you take no damage, and then it reflects it for your axe's damage, not the amount of damage that whatever it did to you. Then you have decapitate, which is an aggro ability. It's meant to take aggro, so this is why this is another aggro weapon. Same situation, except instead of using uppercut for Vulcan, you would use decap. Now, the interesting about decap is, this is what makes it a PvP weapon, is when you get a player to 25 HP, instead of hitting them for 10 damage 2 times, you can use decap and it'll insta-kill them. For mobs, it's 75. That's alright. Makes it a great PvP weapon. And the last one is why this is the best tanking weapon. Because you get deflection, which is a 40% chance to block damage from mobs. Or from players. And then a plus 20 versus mobs. So 60% chance not to take damage from a mob. And of course that increases to 70% to mobs. And there's an attachment that adds 8%. Good luck getting one though. Next is Scythe. Scythe, one of my absolute favorite weapons currently, because it is one of the best bossing weapons. And it is also one of the best AoE weapons. Its first ability is Shockwave. Oh, let's skip the abilities real quick actually. Scythe has an increased attack range. So, whatever you normally are able to hit, I don't know how many blocks you can hit another player from. I think it's 3. Scythes have an extended range. So a max T6 scythe can hit for 4.4 blocks away. That's great. Not to mention it has AoE damage, so anything standing really close to that mob is also gonna take damage. And then now we're gonna go straight to the abilities. The first ability is Shockwave, which sends out a beam in front of you. This beam, it's not really a beam, it's more of like a line, and this line does damage and hits anything that crosses into it. It's alright, it's great for AoE. Then you got Sweep. Sweep shoots this massive like cleavage area in front of you, and anything that gets hit by it gets sent flying back. It's great for keeping mobs off you. Cyclone does 100% damage of your scythe and spins you in a circle and sends things flying as well. It's alright, it's not the best. Here's my absolute favorite ability on Scythe, and it's Wild Swings. So Wild Swings increases your cleave area, which increases the amount of mobs it can hit in a specific area. That is fantastic. As you level this up though, its duration gets increased, but you also get bonus attack range. So that Scythe that's 4.4 is now 4.9 when you have this active. Then you get cleave area plus 1. That's a very massive, that's a 1.5, that's an extra block of range that mobs get hit in, making this such a great grouping weapon. Not to mention, little secret, the cleavage AoE damage ignores defense stats. Just gonna put that out there. Use that to your own needs and figure out what you can use that for. Next weapon, Dagger. My only weapon that I don't have maxed out, sadly. It's a fun weapon. It's great. Dagger is a weapon that uses puncture, and puncture increases the amount of damage you do depending on the dagger. So I have a max D5 because I haven't crafted max D6 yet, which can increase my damage by 18% when I hit max puncture. Dagger is a very sneaky weapon. It's great for PvP and PvE. It's great for soloing bosses that you normally wouldn't be able to solo because of a certain ability. First you have Needle Strike, which each strike only does 25% of your regular damage, and it can only hit 2 targets at level 1. Great for keeping mobs off you and increasing that puncture very quickly. Dash shoots you forward, kind of like charge, but it's not as long. But Dash has some really cool things about it. If you hit someone with Dash, it reduces the cooldown by 30% if you hit a mob or player. Not to mention it has 50% bonus damage based on distance. So if you hit the maximum distance that dash is allowed on a player, that is 50% bonus damage on hitting that player. Of course, that increases up to 100 bonus damage, doubling your damage, and maxing it out gives you 50% of cooldown removed. Then you have Shadow Cloak. Whoa, what does Shadow Cloak do? I only see damage multiplier 1.2. Shadow Cloak makes you invulnerable to damage, makes you invisible. Of course, it leaves particles so players can still follow you, but it makes you lose aggro on mobs. It's pretty great if you think about it. But the damage multiplier aspect of it, is when you're Shadow Cloaked and you use an ability, it multiplies the damage by 1.2. Alright, which eventually hits 1.6, which is great. Then you have Kunai. Kunai is fun. Kunai is one of my favorite abilities. And basically, it puts these, as you can see them, if I can put them in a dark area, you see those 3 little weird looking symbols. Well, those are your kunai. You throw them like that, and then you can't throw anymore once you run out. Basically, it's just a ranged ability for a melee weapon. It's okay. So that covers dagger. Next is whip. Whip is a great PvP weapon and also a great PvE weapon. I just don't really like using it for PvE. It's really only useful for arena and rogue. That's about it. Sorry, all you whip mains. Don't attack me, please. Its first ability is chain, which once you use chain, it hits 2 targets. So it goes ting ting. It's alright. Then you have grapple, which basically just you throw it and you pull yourself to the grapple. It's alright. Lasso pulls mobs to you. It's alright. And then rapid fire just fires 5 little prongs in a second, and it only lasts 2 seconds. And the damage is also reduced. It only does 80% of the damage of the weapon. Whip is alright. You can see it's clearly not my favorite because of how briefly I described it. Wand! One of my first level 60s. One of them. It was like the fastest thing I got to level 60. Because it's the best PvE weapon to date. First of all, its first ability is Missile, which is 200% of the base weapon damage. So this thing will be hitting for 100, 200 damage depending on what armor you're wearing. Not to mention, it eventually maxes out at 250%. And it also, at Missile 3, does AoE. Then you got Blink, launches you forward. Just teleports you forward. It's okay. It's not the best movement ability. Then you got Magic Pillar, which drops this massive circle that slowly falls down and does a ton of damage. So I think it does 350% weapon damage. Yeah, it's a lot of damage. And then you got Arcane Haste, useless, absolutely useless except in PvP, because it just lets you missile spam people. It's alright. Wand is such a great weapon. Such a great PvE weapon. And next we have Bow. Everybody understands bows. Bows aren't complicated. It just has bow arrow speed, which changes how soon the arrow falls. First one is Barrage, which at level 1 shoots 8 arrows out in front of you for a max of 27 arrows. Next is Escape, which launches you backwards, and if the arrow that launches you backwards hits a mob, it'll send them flying back as well, increasing the distance between you and the enemy. Momentum Shot is basically an arrow that has more velocity, but for every block traveled, it does 12% more damage at a maximum cap of 650%. Then you have Power Shot, one of my favorite abilities, because it has a bonus velocity of 100% and the bonus damage is 30. And at a maximum 400% velocity and 42 bonus damage. This thing can hit pretty hard, especially against mobs. So that covers weapons. Next we're going to move on to the skill things. Now we have enhancing, weapon crafting, armor crafting, modding, and construction. So basically, weapon crafting, we're going to start with armor crafting. So armor crafting, you'll go in here, you'll click armor, and then you'll start an armor. So for each one of these, you have a recommended amount of materials. So, or not recommended, needed. So you need 10 tank chests. This is just an example. 28 scrap metal, and 16 T3 feedstock. I'm not crafting anything at the moment, so I can't show you, but I already made a tutorial on advanced crafting, and I will update it if I have to. Just leave a comment, let me know if I do. Then weapon crafting is the same thing as armor crafting. Now enhancing. As you can see on these weapons, if you look down above the protected on death, you can see quality. My minimum quality is 82 and my max is 125. 125 is max. Enhancing just requires you to craft these things out of scrap metal, this stuff, and then you basically just click and then double click, and then it increases the quality to 125. Super simple, super easy. Anybody can understand that. Construction is not what you think it is, actually. Construction is confined to presets. Yeah. This is construction. You don't build any of this, it's literally just presets. Like, you just shift and click and it lets you change the way the house looks. Construction, there's nothing really to construction. It's nothing special. So we basically covered all weapons, whatever, armor, skills. So now we're gonna move on to quests. Quests are something you get every day. You get daily quests and you get regular quests. Pretty simple. Daily quests give you gems. Regular quests only give you golden quest points. So I recommend doing these because it's the fast way to make gold. Very fast way to make gold, because as you can see, it's affected by gold bonus. Fastest way to get gold, other than market flipping. But don't do market flipping, because don't. Daily quests, whatever, tells you all the locations. You can even set waypoints, so it tells you where to go. And basically it'll just tell you to kill certain mobs, or use certain weapons, or open chests, or kill bosses. Super, super easy stuff. And there's even a quest shop for getting quest points that lets you buy a handful of useful items. Now, quick note, there's also a PvP shop for killing people in PvP that lets you buy stuff including frags, XP lamps, and food, and pots, but you'll never need those. So, two pretty useful things. Next thing you know, we have bosses. Whoa, RPG stuff. Bosses are difficulty rated. So as you can see, this one is a purple boss, which makes it 4-star, which makes it T4, and it's rated at 2 stars. Slime Queen is a 3-star boss and a T5 boss. Then you have Primus, who is also a 5-star boss, or T5 boss, but he's 4 stars. Then you have Vulcan, who is a 5-star T6 boss, and Amalg, who's a 5-star T6 boss. So you get the gist of their ratings. I have guides coming out for every single one of these bosses, and each one has unique loot that you can get that does unique things. So yeah, next thing you know, we have this magical thing known as bank. This is where you can store all of your items to your heart's content. Now, you do not start off with this many bank pages. In fact, you actually have to go into your compass. You can also do it in the bank page. Is it in here now? No. So it is in the bank. Upgrade size. Here you go. So yeah, 48,000 gold. Ah, that's expensive. But it just increases the amount of space you have in your bank. And with the recent addition, now we have food storage, which lets you throw special things in food storage, post-in storage, and material storage. These can hold infinite items, so if you upgrade them enough, as you can see, I've maxed it out. I can add more slots if I wanted to. Unnecessary. Yeah, so that's banking. Then you have the market. This is where you just buy items from other players. You can do buy orders, where, like, say I want some T6 feed. I can say that I want to pay 9,000 for T6 feed, and then I set the amount that I want to buy, of course. As a default, no rank, you only buy 5, and so on. That's basically the basics. Biggest hint I can give you guys for basically the end of this guide is pay attention to this. This is a teleport that literally lets you choose a teleport area anywhere on this map. And if you know where bosses are, you just use this to teleport. Like 5 will take you to Yeti, 16 will take you to Bandit, 17 will take you to Rogue, 18 will take you to Slime, 22 takes you to Vulcan, 24 takes you to Amalg. So 22 also takes you to Primus as well. So it's just pretty simple stuff. 7 takes you to Bones. So just know all that stuff. And then lastly, and not least, we have tasks. These are basically just guides telling you how to play the server, and each one has significant rewards. Like as you can see, I have to finish this one, which gives me defrag and T5 stuff. It's alright. And eventually, once you hit Elite, you get milestone rewards. Which, woo! Great. We love 20,000 gems. We really do. So, yeah, that's the basics. And if you guys enjoyed this video, please consider dropping a like and subscribing, because it really means a lot. And you guys have been on fire lately too. Like, I literally 30 subscribers already. I'm surprised. I don't even know what to say. I really appreciate you guys, and you guys mean a lot. And stay on fire, ladies and gentlemen. I will talk to you guys later. Peace.